Just recently, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has announced that they are purchasing large supplies of anti-radiation sickness medication. This, paired with the fact that most experts believe we are at the highest risk of nuclear conflict in human history, necessitates an analysis of whether or not the use of low-yield tactical nuclear weapons will escalate to the strategic nuclear level. Many people are under the impression that,
you'll see in the press they talk about quote-unquote tactical nuclear weapons, which is kind of a bullshit term, like nuclear weapons are nuclear weapons.
Technically, this is incorrect. This is like saying there's no difference between a .22 caliber long rifle round and a Schwerer Gustav 800mm artillery round, and this comparison arguably still doesn't do it justice. The largest nuclear weapon ever created is in fact 5 million times more powerful than the smallest ever created. Saying that there is no such thing as tactical nukes is referring to the idea that once any tactical low-yield nuclear weapon is used by one side, it may initiate a chain reaction of tit-for-tat escalatory events that will see larger and larger weapons utilized to the point of a full-scale war between nations' strategic nuclear arsenals. However, this isn't necessarily how things will play out. There is theoretically a scenario in which countries utilize low-yield tactical nuclear weapons and don't transcend the level of deploying their strategic nuclear arsenal. Of course, this hypothesis has yet to be tested, as no tactical nuclear weapons have ever been deployed on the battlefield. Although the US administration's official policy towards the response to the use of tactical nuclear weapons is one of strategic ambiguity, that is, they don't disclose what their response will be, hoping to discourage the other side from ever trying such a thing, many former US officials have speculated that if Russia were to use tactical nuclear weapons, the response would be conventional and not nuclear. That is, the response would be to target Russian military assets and command centers with conventional or non-nuclear munitions as opposed to nuclear weapons. How Russia responds to this conventional strike thereafter would determine the trajectory of escalation. There is a scenario where Russia uses a tactical nuclear weapon, NATO responds by targeting a Russian military base, Russia absorbs the loss, there is a global outcry, and an armistice is declared. So while it is likely that a conventional response from NATO to a Russian nuclear strike may in turn lead to the use of more powerful nuclear weapons, which would ultimately lead to NATO using their own nuclear weapons, this is not guaranteed. To understand the difference between tactical and strategic nuclear warheads, we must understand the difference between tactics and everyday operations and strategy. There is an old saying, strategy determines where you want to go, and tactics are what you use to get there. As previously indicated, these have never been used in combat before. These are also called battlefield or non-strategic nuclear weapons. They have a lower kiloton yield that usually is below 50 kilotons. They typically have a much shorter range, which is under 300 miles, although they can be launched from bombers, thus extending their range. These likely would not trigger ballistic missile warning systems and thus would not elicit a strategic nuclear response. The smallest tactical nuke ever built was the M29 DAVY CROCKET weapon system that fired an M388 nuclear projectile that generated a blast equivalent to 20 tons of TNT, or roughly 0.01 the size of the Hiroshima bomb. For perspective, the largest conventional bomb in the US arsenal, the Moab, has an 11-ton yield. That is, the largest conventional bomb has only half the yield as the smallest nuke ever created. This is a testament to the power of nuclear weapons. The United States has about 200 tactical nuclear gravity bombs with explosive yields that are adjustable between 0.3 and 170 kilotons. If you were to detonate a DAVY CROCKET nuclear weapon in Manhattan, it may destroy a few city blocks and would lead to approximately 10,000 casualties. We demonstrate that here using the Nuke Map app by Alex Wallerstein. Conversely, a 100 megaton airburst detonation in the same spot could potentially cause 14 million casualties. On the topic of tactical nukes, there was only one artillery-based tactical nuclear weapon ever detonated, and that was given the name Atomic Annie, which had a yield of 15 kilotons. You can see the results of that test here. Even this 15 kiloton weapon, which is equivalent to the Hiroshima bomb, has a destructive power that is many hundreds of times more powerful than the largest conventional weapon available in the US military arsenal. On the topic of strategic nuclear weapons, there are many different delivery systems. The nuclear triad, as it's commonly referred, includes underground missile launch facilities, strategic nuclear bombers, and nuclear submarines. In Russia and China, they have mobile intercontinental ballistic missile platforms. This makes these harder to target in a nuclear counterstrike. The largest nuclear weapon ever detonated was the Tsar bomb, which had a yield of 50 megatons as shown here. Currently, Russia has developed the RS-28 Sarmat missile system, which is capable of carrying between 10 to 15 multiple re-entry vehicle warheads, an unspecified number of avant-garde hypersonic glide vehicles, and several countermeasures against anti-ballistic missile systems. This system can carry up to 50 megatons of nuclear warheads. The Poseidon system, also developed by Russia, previously had the codename Status 6, is an autonomous, nuclear-powered, and nuclear-armed unmanned underwater vehicle capable of delivering a nuclear warhead in the 100 megaton range. This is the largest strategic warhead ever developed. It can travel up to 10,000 kilometers, is maneuverable, and would be very difficult to intercept. The USA has no equivalent to the RS-28 Sarmat or the Poseidon nuclear-powered nuclear weapon in its arsenal. In fact, the largest nuclear bombs possessed by the United States are the B-83 nuclear bomb with a power of approximately 1.2 megatons and the LGM-30 Minuteman land-based system, as well as the Trident II SSBM missile system. All of these systems are nearly 40 years old. The difference in the explosive radius of bombs, the altitude in which they're detonated, and the radioactive fallout effects can be visualized here on the Nuke Map website. Other factors that determine the actual destructive impact of a nuclear bomb is the altitude it's detonated at. Airbursts are typically preferred as they maximize the blast radius and minimize the fallout. High altitude detonations also may be preferred for their electromagnetic pulse impacts. Russia is thought to have weapons specifically tuned for their electromagnetic effects that allow them to disable any electronics over a very large area. In the end, if Russia uses a nuclear weapon, the outcome is still largely unknown and subject to speculation. Needless to say, the governments of the world have been taking this threat seriously and are currently in the process of attempting to upgrade their nuclear arsenals and missile defense capabilities, as well as preparing their population to mitigate nuclear and radiological disasters. For more information on nuclear weapons technology, check out this interview we conducted with the late Dr. Peter Vincent Pry here. And for nuclear and radiological protection equipment, see the links in the description section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.